Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Boxing Bananas, brought to you by Fight Bananas, where we are crazy about fights. I am your host, Ray. I am joined by none other than the professor himself, Mr. John Bradford. What's going on, John? John,
How
how
we
you
doing,
doing?
man? Good. It's the middle of the week. It's a hump day, so we're having fun. We're having fun.
All right. Yeah, so we got a Hump Day special episode for you guys. We're going to cover the fights that went down over the weekend. We're going to talk about a little bit of boxing news, and then we're going to talk about the Tampa, Florida card that we have this weekend with everyone's favorite boxer, Jake Paul, returning against
You know,
Central
the
Florida
self-proclaimed
Zone.
face, the self-proclaimed face of boxing. The self-proclaimed face of
Exactly.
boxing, right?
Exactly. He'll be facing Central Florida Zone Platinum, Mike
Mike
Perry,
Perry.
in Tampa, Florida, pretty much down the street.
Down that little
And
AI4 corridor.
yeah, pretty much on the other side of I-4 from where we're at. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the Fight Bananas on YouTube. Check it out on there. Make sure you follow us on the Boxing Bananas official and the Fight Bananas page if you're not
Oh
following
yeah.
them as well.
Oh yeah.
And then before we get started, we have to shout out our sponsors.
That's
First, we
right.
have HKA USA. Take it
Let's
away, John.
go.
Make
Make
sure
sure
you
you check
use
out that code at the bottom. Fight Bananas 20. Get 20% off your entire order.
absolutely. And then we have Jazzercise for all of our people out there trying to get that jaw in check. You know what I'm saying?
You know, exercise for your face.
All of my Sigmas out there, if you want your Mew streaks to continue, hit that Jazzercise.
So
That being
explain that to me.
Bro,
what
that'll
what does that
that'll have
mean?
to that'll have to be a whole podcast in itself. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It's the what the kids
I like
call
that.
brain rot. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
that being said, for all my skibbities out there, we're gonna take this podcast to Ohio. I'm joined
Loving
by
it.
Baby Gronk, and we're gonna talk about the fight with Livy Dunn this weekend. No, but
I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
before we get into things, also make sure you comment to be featured live on the screen. Let's get right into it. We had some fights over the weekend. We'll get into our weekend recap. Um, biggest one was my man Boots Ennis, Jaron Ennis,
Yep.
fought this weekend, and we had a pretty good pre-fight show beforehand where we talked about how we didn't necessarily like this fight. It was pretty much the best fight available to us considering the short notice, Cody Crowley having to pull out, and I would say a deflated welterweight division.
Mm.
Welterweight division's usually a division that's on fire, has a lot of players in there. Feel like right now, the chessboard's a little bit empty. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think so. With Terrence Crawford leaving the division, now we have some play of how we even talked about it on the pre-fight show. How do we go about getting somebody getting a unification? How it goes about doing that. So it is a little bit out there, but I mean, one way or another, he did what he had to do. I mean, Boots went out there and put on a good performance. What we talked about, he was definitely going to get compared to Terrence Crawford at some point to T-Bud, with this fight because they both fought each other. He got him out of there in the 5th. Terrence got him out of there in the 6th. You know what I mean? So let the people debate. You know what I mean? As far as that goes, I just don't see him still getting the fight that he wants. I don't see him getting the Crawford fight really anytime soon unless something happens to where that's the only option for maybe an entire year, for money wise. But, Crawford's eyes are still hunting the bigger fish right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, first, let's talk about, like you said, people are going to compare this to Crawford. That's something that we talked about, um, you know, last week. Real quick, shout out to Chris J. What's up, guys? What's up with you, my man?
Yeah.
So, Yeah, he fought David Avanesian. David Avanesian was just one fight in between getting KO'd by Terrence Crawford, and I think it was a 6 rounder against a guy who was 11-55. So it's pretty much, just go in there, get a win, get, I guess, a little bit of time in there, but he might as well have just come off of the knockout loss, essentially.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that being said, like we said, people are going to compare it. I feel like it's a little bit different when you look at it on paper and you look at it on the box rec. Oh, he got him out of there in the fifth. It was at the end of the fifth. It was retiring on the stool, compared to just a knockout. He did get knocked down in the fifth, but I do feel like, which on paper looks better, right?
Hmm.
But I feel like John Ennis took a lot of shots in getting
Yeah.
that stoppage. You know what I mean? There was some holes in his defense. Maybe it was one of those things where the holes were a little bit exploited because he was getting that. Maybe he felt that pressure to get that knockout, so he was pushing the pace harder. It's going to open you up. So I'm not giving him. I'm not discrediting his defense or anything like that because I feel like the way he fought was that. But I feel like other people are going to start saying, because you know how it is in boxing, it's the
Yeah.
narratives. I think people are going to start saying, "Oh, well, he's has holes in his defense." Blah blah blah. The only way to cut those narratives out is another great performance. So hopefully, we see him quickly. We got Eddie Hearn as his new promoter, and he's saying that he wants him in October or November, possibly even on the undercard of Better Biev versus Bivol. I feel like that would be great exposure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let me ask you this: compared to him on PBC, is it refreshing to see him actually have somebody with his back in a promotion? With PBC, it's like there's a phantom promoter. Who runs the show? It's Al Heyman. Al Heyman might as well be a ghost. There's people that don't know what Al Heyman looks like.
It's very
There's
true.
no
It's
there's
very
no
true.
face to the promotion. With UFC, you have Dana White. Even with Top Rank, you have an old Bob Arum out there, but he still has energy for being 93 years old. With PB, even Don King's out there still waving the flag.
Yeah.
But with PBC, there's nobody actually pushing the promotion, which is very strange. I mean, I think the closest thing they have to a face maybe is even like Brian Custer, and then my man Lee
Who
Gibson. That's what I'm
is
saying,
Al?
Lee. Who is Al?
Who is
Nobody
he?
even knows who. People are like, oh, I don't even know who that is. You know what I mean? You have to be kind of like really in the boxing news to even know who the guy is.
Yeah. Very true.
Which I'm pretty sure Lee here is, giving us some sarcastic comedy, but I mean it's true. Who is Al? So when you see somebody like Eddie, who's there getting interviewed in the ring afterwards, standing there, and Eddie has a way to sell his fighters. His fighters might not be the best fighters. He might be just completely making it up, but this is the politics side of boxing where he puts on that politician suit and starts just speaking, oh, the numbers and this and that and blah blah blah, and essentially like whatever it is to get elected. It's in boxing, it's whatever it is to make to rise the status of my fighter. So going back to my question, is it refreshing to see somebody like Eddie Hearn behind a fighter with a lot of skill like Jaron Ennis?
Oh, 100%. I agree with you totally. Like, it looks like our guy Lee Gibson here never really heard of him. Well, Al Heyman is the guy who runs PBC and is supposed to be the promoter who you're supposed to see, up in front talking, pushing his fighters like the rest of the promoters do. But we don't really get to see that. But absolutely, Eddie Hearn, like you said, always has had a way to, make you kind of interested in any of his fighters. Just the way he speaks, he's very he has a very charisma to him when it comes to that. He knows how to, sell a fighter when he needs to, even if it's just for one fight. You know what I mean? He knows how to
He's
make it
charismatic.
yeah, he's charismatic. Yeah, he's very charismatic with it. He knows how to let you pique your interest, give you the right wording to let you want to be like, oh, that might be actually be a really interesting fight, when it could 100% not be, or it could really be and it be a sleeper. So yes, I'm glad. Definitely, Boots has somebody behind him pushing him in the right direction. Again, it comes down to this is boxing. I just hope we get to see bigger fights with him in it, and they're making the fights that need to happen. That's what this all comes down to in any promotion, whoever's promoting it. Boxing, we need to make sure that the best are fighting the best. And I'm not saying every single fight they have to fight the best person, but the majority of the fights need to be on the way up rather than, let's just take a quick money grab here and there just to keep my let's, dare to be great, dare to be great. You know what I mean? And the more you're daring to be great, I think the more respect nowadays you'll get from the fans and things like that. And that's what needs to happen. So if Al can push, Boots Enos, I'm happy because I want to see him more. Don't you? I mean, I think he's a talented fighter. I'd love to see him more. I'd love to see him more in really competitive fights. So
Yeah.
hello, and Eddie, I'm rooting for
Exactly.
you. I'm rooting for you and the partnership with him. Let's go.
No, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, it's one of those things where I like I want to see, like you said, I want to see the fighter get promoted correctly. I want to see it going. The thing about Eddie is that I don't always agree with Eddie. I don't think
Oh
that,
yeah,
like,
yeah, same.
sometimes I'm kind of like, bro, you're in the wrong here, but he has an obligation to his fighter.
Yep.
So I can respect the fact that he tries, even with Bob Arum freaking out in the Jack Catterall versus
Yeah, he had his
um
fighters back. You know what I mean? He had
Josh
his fighters
Taylor
back.
rematch. Yeah, I thought he was totally out of line and completely
Absolutely.
crazy, almost delusional. It was one of those things where a lot of times lately in America, we're talking about cognitive tests for the older people that are in charge of things.
Yes.
That after that, we
Yes.
talk about does Bob Arum need a cognitive test to be in charge of Top Rank?
He's
But
older than he's
at the
older
end
than
of
the
the
other
day,
two.
it's one of those things where he knows that he knows that he's wrong, but
Yeah.
it's almost like a fake outrage. It's
Yeah.
the equivalent of crocodile tears
Yeah.
where he's freaking out. So while I completely disagree with him, I respect the fact that he's doing that because he has his fighters back. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So that's the thing. You can have respect for people, completely disagree with them. That doesn't make you a ball licker, as John Jay would say. I don't know if he's saying that we're ball lickers, but um,
I didn't say I love Eddie Hearn. I just said that he does a good job
hey,
of making me
hey,
peak in my interest
as
sometimes.
as they said in the post fight press conference, no Diddy. So Lee
Lee
Gibson said
Gibson. Oh
Bob
boy.
Arum is the Joe Biden of boxing. I don't know how you would have gathered that
From your
comparison,
comments.
Lee. But Lee also has a couple other ones in here saying Eddie Hearn is a fantastic promoter and can generate cash for his fighters. That's what I'm saying. Like, even in this fight, this was a fight me and you both were like, I don't really like this fight. You know what I mean? But for what it is, Eddie sold it in a way, which, I mean, it's not like we bought it or nothing
Yeah.
in the sense of it wasn't like a pay-per-view,
Yeah.
but he promoted it in a way where it kind of is what it is, but for what it was, he's able to hype it up even higher.
Yeah.
He's able to take something, you know, and put a little bit of glitter on top of it.
Yeah.
So
He bedazzled it for us for a second.
yeah, and then a couple more comments from Lee. Frank Warren is the best, but he's old. I like Frank Warren. I mean, really, that's one of those things where it's a debate of who's a better promoter. If you're gonna debate who has a better promotion, I think Turkey Al Sheikh pretty much had them do it head to head recently, if I can recall
5v5.
correctly. And Eddie Hearn got completely shut out with
He
Matchroom.
did.
So I think it was like 10-0 on the point system.
Yeah.
Lee also said Eddie was gifted everything from his
Late
father.
mother.
Eddie was gifted everything from his father. I mean, he was in the sense of, I think I'm pretty sure, if I'm correct, his dad owns Matchroom and he created the Matchroom boxing. So it was like he had that backing to be able to create it. But it's one of those things where, whether it's your dad backing you or a lot of people that create things, they get capital in other ways, like, what's it called? Like loans, other people's money, the bank, this and that. He did have the push of the brand of Matchroom, but from what he's been able to do with it, I respect that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's one of
Yeah.
those things where you can give somebody anything, but are they going to build with it, or Are they going
Or
to
is it
keep?
gonna
Yeah.
crumble? You
How
know what
many
I mean?
people have we seen try to come into boxing and then pretty much go out of business immediately? We have Triller. What was it? BLK. Something like that. And then we have just recently this Phantomo thing that's going down with Nate
Mhm.
Diaz. We're hearing about that. So Lee says he's on the lookout for a new cash cow when Joshua quits. Saudi Arabia is stealing the show lately. I mean, he's working with Saudi Arabia, so he's getting all of that. And then yeah, so that being said, Drawn Ennis looked good for what it was. Let's see what happens.
Yep.
This is what we talked about after the Terrence Crawford fight, or quite a while after. The Dragon Balls will redisperse. Who's going to go collect them? In a sense, we're seeing those. The WBO still has to get scattered. The Ring magazine will become vacant. That's the one ring to rule them all. And
Yep.
then, we'll see what happens. I think it's going to take a little while for him to even get a unification fight, let alone then move up to 154. By the time he's even in a position to move up to 154 to challenge T Bud, and for T Bud to even want to take that fight at his point in his career, there has to be something on the line. If you don't have a belt, if you don't have something, what's the point? Really,
Yeah.
for T Bud, T Bud's proved what he needs to prove. He doesn't have to fight Jaron Ennis.
Oh, it doesn't
Jaron
at all.
Ennis
At
needs
all.
T Bud.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
unless he has a title or something at 154, if he positions himself for that IBF or something like that, now we can start inserting him into the equation. If not, I don't know that fight's going to happen. And in the timeline, is Bud going to be checked out? Is he going to, unify at 154, move up to 160? We don't know what's going to happen. But I don't know that timeline's going to add up.
I don't see the multiverse allowing it to happen. You know what I mean? I don't see the timelines in any which way lining up with that. I think, there's a rumor out there that I guess Bud's been talking about maybe he's 2 to 3 fights at the most away from retiring. If and in those 3 fights, I feel like if he gets the Canelo and wins it, I feel like we don't see him anymore, period end, even if it's the first fight. I mean, obviously he has
Yeah.
Madrimov coming up, but if he gets past Madrimov and he gets the Canelo one next and he wins that, if I'm T-Bud, I'm walking off into the sunset and saying,
There's no
later,
need to ever
guys.
fight again. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
nothing
like
you could do that's
I'm
better
out.
than that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So
which I don't know
there's
that
no,
that's a fight that's gonna happen either. I don't necessarily want
yeah.
that fight to happen. I mean, I guess it's a huge boxing fight, but I feel like what's the point? I feel like a fight with Benavidez would be just as big,
Thank you. Thank you.
and that's the
I'd rather
fight
see that right
to
now.
make in the division. Yeah, because if not, even if for Canelo it's a lose either way, you go fight Bud, they're gonna say, oh well, he was 2-3 divisions smaller than you,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you lose, then you lost to a guy 2-3 divisions smaller than you. It doesn't make sense
No.
at all. I feel like it's kind of in women's boxing when people were talking about Katie Taylor versus Clarissa Shields. I'm like,
What?
what are we talking about? People
Yeah.
were asking, they were asking Katie Taylor stuff like that. So
Yeah.
anyways, we'll see what happens with that. I feel like Lee Gibson says fighting Canelo is like winning the lotto. Exactly. He's got that the red panty night in boxing, as they call it. And I feel like that's something that we just saw with Jermel Charlo. He got that fight that was supposed to be his brother's fight for years. He was able to get the fight because his brother couldn't show up, and he didn't even. It was like he didn't even try.
Yeah.
So
That
that's
was.
where
I thought that'd be way more exciting. That fight would be a lot more, action pressed, or at least he would come in with a game plan of how to beat Canelo. I think he was just content with trying to make it through 12 rounds. You know what I mean? And that didn't work out really for him.
Yeah, I was just about to say that red panties. Yeah, his red panty night when you sign up to fight Canelo.
Yeah,
You know
it
what I
really
mean?
is. Yep.
But that being said, let's get into some boxing news that we got going on. So 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the Shakur Stevenson fight.
Mm-hmm.
William Zepeda fought also, I believe, on the same night. And we had definitely some critiques about Shakur Stevenson. I've had critiques about Shakur Stevenson, but I think we're all in unison that the reason that we have these critiques is because he has so much skill. There's so much more he could do with the ability that he has, and we're just not seeing that, especially for him pricing himself out of fights and things of that nature. So now we have a very interesting development where he's now had 2 fights in a row that essentially were stinkers.
Mhm.
Everyone was saying before, oh, the De Los Santos fight, he had a hurt hand. Everyone's making excuses for him. For me, it looked like, okay, well, if you have a hurt hand, try to fight with the other one. He didn't even try. So, right? I mean,
I mean,
you
he's definitely disengaging, pulling out of range to where he can't find the counter. And like to your point, you've said this many times. It's just his unwillingness to stay into the fray or at least be in range to hit. And I'm gonna let you know that you're right because my goat RJJ is backing you up. I just read an article about him saying the same exact thing. He was asked to compare Shakur and Tank and who he thinks is the better one. He said exactly what you've been saying. Shakur is now bouncing out too far to where now he cannot counter, he cannot get off right away. So his punches are landing either at the very extreme, longer range, or he's disengaging completely and then has to re-engage. And, that becomes a boring fight for the fans. Whereas when
yeah, it's
we
not
just pulled up
exciting.
highlights. Yeah, we just pulled up highlights before him at 130 where that was not the case. He was sitting right in that perfect range, hurting people. You talked about his
Mhm.
facial expressions being,
He had
that
malice behind the punches. Yeah.
exactly. So it's definitely being noticed. It's being noticed by some of the greats out there too. People are starting to realize like, okay, we gotta, he's gonna have to fight and really fight and engage more because otherwise, like you said, he's just even though he might have tuned in, people might have tuned in for that fight. I think everybody was like giving him another shot. Let's go see if that
I
was
gave
just
him
what
another shot, and I
I did
knew
too.
I knew I shouldn't have, because I was like, you know what? I know he's gonna disappoint me, right? I feel like one of those women that keeps getting cheated on by the same guy, and and you sit here and convince all your friends, no, he's changed. He's not gonna do that. But the guy's name is Andrew Tate. You know what I mean? What are
I
we
feel
like?
you.
Of course,
It's like
Shakur's
these.
gonna do that to us.
It's like
And
these chicks on Love Island, bro. It's crazy. It's like these chicks on Love Island, right?
yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. These chicks on Love Island. Bombshell walks in and it's game over.
Yeah.
But here's something you brought up about Tank. Like we're comparing him to Tank, of course, because they're both champions of the division. My boy Lee Gibson here, Tank is a beast. And something that we were gonna bring up regarding, people were trying to make excuses for him because Shakur, because he had the hand injury in the De Los Santos fight. Lee says, seen plenty of fights where they only use one hand because of injury. Even Tank, you could tell when he fought Esau Cruz in those last couple of rounds, it seemed as though he had a hand injury. I don't remember if he confirmed it at the end. I'm pretty sure he did, but it looked like he twisted his hand or something when the uppercut was blocked, something like that, if my memory serves me correctly. But yeah, we've seen. Do you remember? I don't know if some of my boxing fans, if 12 years ago is too far in the past, but Andre Berto versus Jesus Soto Caras. You remember that
Okay.
fight?
Andre Bird over. Yeah,
Andre
yeah, yeah,
Berto
yeah,
tore out his arm and was like his shoulder and was fighting with one
yeah,
arm
yeah.
for rounds, bro, rounds. And then I honestly thought he kind of got stopped unfairly because it was I think it was like a standing stoppage, and he fought so long with the injury where it was like, bro, just let him finish out the fight. I don't remember if the fight was going to go his way either way, but regardless of that, my man was fighting with one arm, let alone one hand. At least with one hand, like you could still do things. You could throw feints. You could pretend like you're going to hit somebody with it.
Yeah.
Berto's over here fighting with one arm.
I
So
believe. I want to say that Mayweather broke his hand many times in fights and still used all pretty much all his punches, and made it still landed the punches and didn't. I don't want to say made it look like he was running. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, like Lee said, you got to get into the trenches and not take the easy route, because if you ever want to be a pay-per-view star, you have to you have to put on exciting fights, man. If you're not going to put on exciting fights, no one is going to pay for you.
yep.
And that's something that we were seeing with like Devin Haney. Devin Haney was a guy who he had a couple fights on pay-per-view, and they weren't very good pay-per-view wise. Loma sold a decent amount, but then you had the Prograis fight, which really they were billing Haney as like the star of that, and that didn't sell very well. And then with Ryan, obviously that sold a lot, but because it's Ryan, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Same thing, we talked
absolutely.
about these numbers with Tank, whatnot. But the whole point of why we're bringing up Shakur is we're hearing now.
The WBC is mandating something, right?
Yep. So Shakur Stevenson versus William Zepeda, title fight ordered by the WBC. I like when the WBC does stuff like this, right?
Well, at least they're putting two title holders together now. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't
Well,
Williams
Zepeda is not a title holder
he
in the
doesn't have oh,
division.
okay. I thought he had one of the other
Well,
belts.
he is the WBA Continental America's lightweight
Oh,
champion,
okay.
but
But
that's
that's not yeah.
that, I mean, that really should put him in line for a WBA shot. But Tank is a WBA holder, so good luck with that. Tank's gonna fight who he wants to fight. But essentially,
This still isn't a bad matchup though. At least he's an undefeated fighter. He's been impressing. He's not somebody that you look by and where's he at in the ring rankings? Isn't he like number 3 or 4 or something?
I will pull that up if you want to. You
I'm pretty
able to
sure he's
see?
definitely ranked up there.
If you want to give a little breakdown of this article real quick, I'll pull that up.
Okay, so essentially they're Shakur Stevens has been ordered by the WBC to defend his lightweight title against top ranked contender William Zepeda, per boxing scene. They're essentially going to be going to a purse bid here, from my understanding, at some point in August. But they both coming off wins. Shakur, as we just saw recently, and then Zepeda was on the same weekend. Zepeda stopped his guy in the 3rd round with body shots. The stylings in my eyes they're contrasting, but it's one to where, like, definitely Zepeda has a chance to win because it's boxing. Everybody has a chance to win, but I feel like this really plays into Shakur's wheelhouse with the way Zepeda wants to come forward, wants to get into, that striking range. And if Stevenson, this will be a good chance for Stevenson to put on a offensive clinic per se from counter shots if he stays in that range. If he stays in the fire and is ready to not take the boring route, I feel like Zepeda is a guy who definitely will make him work. And Cepeda's hittable. Like, he was real hittable in those first 3 rounds until the guy got tired. But
Mr. Radford,
yes,
I have a question for you.
sir.
Do you trust Shakur Stevenson to give you that performance?
No, but I do trust William Zepeda to try to force it out of him. I do trust that.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. I don't know that we'll get the performance we want. It'll just all depend on him that day. But I do think that we could have two things here: a very boring fight again, and he keeps him at that weird range, or like this gentleman right here, Mr. Lee Gibson, is saying, Zepeda could steal the show and walk this man down and start to hurt him. He's a hell of a body puncher. And I'm talking about, he snatches bodies. He's a hell of a body puncher. And that's one thing Shakur's real good with the shoulder roll and covering his body. And he attacks the body real well too. But, this is a guy who throws punches and bunches, combinations, powerful ones. And he can take a punch, man. Zepeda can take a punch. So it could lead, to a wonderful performance by Stevenson, but Zepeda could steal the show. It is boxing. It's boxing. Anything can happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's one of those things where it's either, I mean, a few things can happen, right? If Zepeda is able to break down that body, if he can get to the body and break it down, then it's going to slow down the movement of Shakur, creating a more, a better fight, essentially.
Yeah.
Because the issue with Shakur that we've said over and over again is that my man just pretty much, they say he runs away and he runs. Essentially, man, like when you just retreat completely out of punching range and then move laterally and then try to get back in, but then get right back out, that's pretty much what you're doing. The other thing that Shakur can do is actually, put on a good performance. But if Zepeda tries to push the pace on him and that pushes Shakur to just completely disengage, we're talking about a scenario where whatever little marketability that Shakur has left can completely get flushed down the toilet.
Yeah,
If
for sure.
Shakur decides to disengage entirely, like he did, for example, in the De Los Santos fight, start digging the grave on his career before the bell rings, because even if he wins, his career is done.
Mhm.
Dunzo. Now, I have a point here, and that has to do with this purse bid. For those who are listening who are saying what's going on with the purse bid? Purse bid is essentially, you have your promotions and then you have your organizations. The WBC is ordering this fight. So even if the two fighters are on different promotions and typically a fight wouldn't happen, the WB saying, "Hey, this fight has to happen, and y'all need to figure this out. If you don't, then we're going to purse bids, and pretty much any promotion can bid on it. Let's say you have promotion A, you have promotion B. One is the promoter of fighter A, the other one's the promoter of fighter B. If they don't come together, A and B, they go to purse bids. You could have promotion C come in and go, I'll take the fight, and they could outbid everybody. So this is something where now Shakur's a free agent.
And
So
Cepeda is isn't he signed by Golden Boy? Is Cepeda Golden Boy?
honestly,
I
good
don't think
question.
he's. I
I
don't think
don't
he's
even know. I'm a
Matchroom. I think he's.
casual. I'm a
I'm pretty sure.
casual on
I
boxing.
thought from my understanding that Cepeda was Golden Boy because at one point I thought I remember reading something where De La Hoya said the only way he's gonna get Cepeda is if he signs with Golden Boy, and I was like, I don't know, that's gonna fall
Well,
out. And then the
the good
WBC made the
thing,
fight.
yeah, the good thing about not knowing that off the top of my head is that in this circumstance, luckily it doesn't even matter because
True.
this fight could fall under anybody. But here's where it gets interesting. How many times have I said on this program now that Shakur outbid or priced himself out of fights, and then in the very next fight showed why he has zero market value? Then another fight, two in a row, where he shows he has zero market value. Now with the purse bid, what's awesome about the purse bid is that you're gonna go and test the market. Devin Haney just found this out the hard way. That's why Devin Haney's taking a year off of boxing and it
Yeah.
vacated essentially in a weird political way vacated his WBC. He did it in a way it was like, oh, I'm not going to fight, so they put him champion in recess out of respect. But really, he should have vacated that title. It should have been stripped from him when he lost.
Yeah.
But they did it in a way where Devin Haney gets all the favors. So
You're
tell
not
me
lying.
not, bro. This guy gets
No, no,
everything.
yeah, you're not. You're not lying. You're not lying.
So
Somehow it works out that way.
right, exactly. So now Devin Haney, he's taking a year off because guess what? Once he lost and he lost all his marketability, he got to test the free market with the Sandor Martin fight and saw that he was going to make 10x less than he would normally make because now the market has adjusted
Yes.
to what he is worth.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's essentially a market crash on the stock of Devin Haney. And I
Yep.
feel I'm going to make the bold prediction right now, and I don't even know if it's that bold of a prediction, that we are going to see a huge market crash on Shakur Stevenson. I think he'll be very disappointed with what anybody bids on him, unless Eddie Hearn comes in and bids a bunch because he wants that. Zepeda is the only thing that's helping this fight out.
So
Essentially,
Top Rank. So him turning down Top Rank was the worst thing he ever probably did. Then, right? Turning down that
if it,
3-fight or
we'll
5-fight
see what
deal for
happens.
15 million.
We'll see what happens. But let me check out some of these comments we have. Lee, when you think about boxing, the problem is you can probably count on your hands the amount of people who make big money. That's what I'm saying. It's when you're making big money or even like good money in boxing, you have to have something to bring to the table. Shakur just has this name, and that's it. He has name and potential, but now he's not living up to the potential that his name previously brought.
Very true.
So
Very true.
also says I think Cepeda might steal the show.
Yeah, I agree. It could happen for sure. There's definitely a path for him to have victory because of things like that. Because he is essentially using a point style system, but he's doing it without volume. Whereas a lot of amateur boxers and stuff like that use the point system with a little bit more volume. Shakur is not putting that volume out there. He's like you're saying, he's disengaging.
Check this out. Isn't this
Number three,
interesting?
he's
You
ahead of
asked
him.
me if
Yeah,
he was ranked. He's ahead of Shakur Stevenson, and he's ahead of Baranchek.
yep.
He's ahead of 2 champions
On the
in
ring.
the Ring magazine. And other boxing news, I don't know if this is fake news or what, but we're hearing more and more. Excuse me, we're hearing more and more that a Tank versus Lomachenko fight is in developments for November. I'll believe it when I see it get made, because this is one of those things where they always say, "Oh, we're getting so close, and then something happens. Oh, big surprise, and they just use the talk of the negotiations as clout, and then they go sell something else. How often in boxing you see that they dangle the carrot, and then they go, "Well, actually, we're going to sell you this, but you should be excited for this because it's going to lead into that we almost got you." It's the blueprint of boxing. It's the playbook that we've seen so many times.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Right. They're getting me. They're fishing me, and I don't like it because like I'm getting
with this fight, the Tank
yeah,
versus
bro.
Lomachenko?
Yeah, just because I'm a Loma fan. Like I want.
I mean, they might do it, bro. They might.
I know, but like I feel what you're saying. Like I want to keep the attitude of don't believe it till I see the shit really announced and it's like signed on the dotted line and we all know it's happening. But they're fishing me, man. They're goading me with this shit, and I'm like,
yeah, that's
just because
their tactic.
It is, and I know the tactic. We talk about this, immensely, and I know their tactic, but they're getting me. And now it's to the point to where even though I'm a Loma fan, and I definitely think there's a path to victory for both gentlemen, and that's just facts. I now I want to see it for him because it's a dare to be great moment. If he beats Tank, a lot of people will shut the hell up. Let's just put it that way. Like a lot of people will stop saying certain things of his style or of his talent or whatever it was, however you want to do it. He goes, it solidifies even another part of his career. So it's a dare to be great moment. Just don't pull the rug out from underneath me, boxing. Don't do that to me now. Don't do it.
But what's one other thing? It's not even but, it's actually an and.
I'm just kidding.
And one other thing with this fight, with the number 1 versus the number 2, what else is going to be on the line?
The ring title. The
ring
most important title.
The ring title will be on the line for the winner of that fight. Now here's the but. But like I'm saying, bro, I'll believe it when I see it. And the thing is that my optimism, whether it's there or not, will not be the deciding factor in the negotiations. I can guarantee you.
You're very true.
They are not in the negotiation room going, you know what? I was watching Boxing Bananas last night. and that Ginger really, he really had a point, man. John's really excited about it, Bob.
We should make this happen. John's super excited. Just make this happen.
He's pumped, man. Yeah, so it's not going to help. And even though I don't like to, I prefer to have an optimistic viewpoint in many aspects of my life. But when it comes to boxing, they got a good saying in Texas or in Tennessee. Fool me once, shame on you. You get fooled, you can't get fooled again. So, what did MJ say in Spider-Man No Way Home? Expect disappointment and you won't be disappointed. That's what I'm going with here. Until I see the official announcement, I'm not even, we'll see what happens. But there's other avenues I can go on. But yeah, at the end of the day, that's the lightweight division pretty much in a nutshell at the moment. And before we get into this weekend's preview, one more time, tell them about our fight sponsors.
Oh, absolutely. Once again, we have HKA USA. Use the code Fight Bananas 20. I can't even put this the right way because I'm backwards in the screen. Fight Bananas 20, get 20% off your whole order. They have a great line of gloves. I use these now daily, and I'm really trying to beat the hell out of them, and they are just beautiful. They keep withstanding the punishment all day long. I love it. And then our next one is a Jazzercise Fitness for your face. Super easy to use. Put in Fight Bananas for 15% off. They don't do a lot of sales, guys. Like, so jump on this if you're really interested in it. It actually, I feel a little definition. I have a beard. You can't really see it, so I'm sorry. It's a little bit thicker, but it's starting to work. And I use it in the car. It's the easiest thing to do. So if you want fitness for your face and your neck, check them out.
That's right. All my Skibbity Rizzlers out there, hop out of Ohio, hop off your edge streaks, and hop on a Mew streak with Jazzercise. Fight Banana code for 15% off and get that jaw looking right.
I'm gonna need to learn all these slang terms, bro. I'm definitely behind in this.
Don't do it. Don't do it. You're gonna ruin your life. Just
don't do it.
Please don't do it. Yeah. Trust me. I'm already too deep down the rabbit hole. You know what I mean?
All right, that works. I get you. Thank you for the warning. Thank you for the warning, because you've already sucked me into a TV show that I can't believe I'm watching. I'm gonna continue. We'll talk about that later.
I already have the brain rot going on, so we don't need that. But real quick, I got a couple comments that we didn't get to. Zepeda has a nose for somebody who can take a punch but gets hit.
Yeah.
And then the winner of Davis versus Loma fights winner of Stevenson versus Zepeda. I feel like if Loma beats Tank, I feel like they'll rematch it because Tank's too big of a star. But
yeah, but I feel like Loma
take the belts back to Top Rank and make that unification with Baranchek, because Top Rank has that WBO title over there too. So if you're gonna make a huge title fight, like or a huge fight unification, that's a big fight, make it for undisputed. And if you have that WBO floating around, you might as well go fish that out of the pond before you head out to the open ocean for the big fish.
I'll be real with you. If I can honestly see Loma walking away after beating Davis once and just retiring. If he beats Davis, I feel like he might he really could walk away. He's even said that he only wants to win one more title for his son, and like just watch his son, watch him win another title. And that's, he's had a storybook career. He beats Davis. That's actually a storybook ending. If it's a performance, like for where you're at 36 years old, and Davis is supposed to be, essentially the face of U.S. boxing, and then he's he's supposed to be taking over the face of boxing. As we're saying it, even though Canelo still is, but I could see him walking away. But that's still an interesting little tournament. I don't have a problem with that tournament.
For sure. I just feel like Loma, his biggest thing was always he wanted to be undisputed, and he didn't get the opportunity with Teofimo. Teofimo beat him, and with the Haney fight, they essentially, many people believe he got robbed of it.
Yes, he did. Yes.
So for him to go out without it, and then what if he's somebody like Pacquiao, where Pacquiao goes back and goes, you know what? I still have miles in the tank. There's gas in the tank here to be able to do it. And it's not like Lomachenko's getting older, but we haven't seen an actual. Am I crazy here? Or I thought he looked great against Kambosos.
Oh no, he looked amazing. I'm just saying there is, like we've all talked about it. You sometimes it just falls off. You just get it just falls off. Right?
I mean, he could become old overnight, like it happens. But I mean,
I don't know.
He'll probably get beat up one night, but I can't imagine with his skills that he's gonna get beat up that bad.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like he has the footwork and everything to, I feel like, mitigate a beating. Some people will take a beating because they can't move.
Yeah, he can mitigate it. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I get what you're saying.
I think he can mitigate a beating. I don't think he's somebody who's taken a lot of punishment in his career. He's had a relatively short professional career.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So for him, it would be a shame where if he just goes, oh, I'm just done to be done, and then a couple years go, you know what? If I had 2 titles, I might as well have just gotten the other 2, because he could potentially if he beats Tank, I feel like he beats everyone in the division. No,
I understand. I get it, but it all depends, I think, on like how much that, like, let's say he has to get up off the canvas to beat Tank. You know what I mean? Like, let's say Tank rocks him, drops him. Like, he got off the canvas to beat Linares. Linares' punch was more of a flash knockdown. I think he just walked into one that he wasn't really seeing too well. And, I know exactly what you're saying. But even when he was no Moschenko, but he finished Linares after that. He punished him. There's that clip of him just touching him all left and right, in that scenario. And he ended up walking him down and body shot him and finishing him. So I think he's going to have to get up off the mat with Tank. It's just how bad, like, how long does that chin last? You know what I mean? Am I at 36? And if he gets
going to disappear one day.
That's what I mean. Like, you know what I mean? And he is getting hit more and more lately. And I agree this Zepeda can catch Shakur. It's in which round does it happen, I mean, he can catch him, but
for sure. But that being said, we could go all night about these potential matchups, and it is interesting. You know what I mean? This will not be the last time that we talk about this on the podcast. I'm sure we'll talk about it over and over again because I'm just as interested as you are on this stuff. But let's get into the weekend preview.
Yeah. Hey, Lee, you're from England, man. Thanks for tuning in, bud. We appreciate it.
Oh, my man's from England, bro?
Yeah, he's from England, bro.
How do you know that?
It says it. He says it up there. Look at the comments. It says, I'm in England.
Where? I don't see that.
9:50 p.m.
Oh,
Lee.
I'm in England.
Yeah.
Bruv.
That's right, bruv.
Man's in England.
Yeah.
What time is it over there?
I'm English. That's awesome.
Oh, I'm English.
Hell yeah. Well, that makes sense then if you're in England, right? You're English. That works.
Cheers, mate.
I get it. Cheers.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
What time is it, though, over there?
He's over there.
Nearly 3 a.m., homie. Thank you for turning in. That's awesome.
Nearly 3 a.m. How are you still awake right now? My man's on factor 50. So
he loves boxing. He's bananas for boxing.
I think English fans are used to staying up late when it comes to boxing, right? So
yeah,
that's how it goes. We got a big fight going down over the weekend. Everybody's favorite fighter,
Amanda Serrano. No, did I get that one wrong? I got it wrong. I'm sorry. I apologize.
If you're from the island.
It's Jake. I mean? You meant Jake Paul. Oh, my bad. I was
talking about El Gallo de Dorado, Puerto Rico, Jake Paul.
What he said.
That's his new nickname, if you didn't know. So we got Jake Paul versus.
What does that
Mike
mean then?
Perry.
What does that mean if that's his new nickname? You have to.
It's like the fighting rooster out of basically like the rooster of Dorado, but it's like you're like the fighting chicken. You know what I mean?
Really? If he walks out to Rooster by Alice in Chains, I'm gonna be so upset. That's the
probably walk out to Gasolina by Daddy Yankee.
Okay, but because if that's his nickname and he walked out to Rooster, that'd be fitting. But Rooster is such a dope walkout song. I think. Like, don't do it, Jake. I'll hate it. Don't do it.
So, Jake Paul versus Mike Perry fight is headlined by Jake Paul boxing Mike Perry in an 8-round cruiserweight contest on Saturday night at the Emily Tampa in Florida. Jake Paul 9-1 has won 3 straight fights since losing split decision to Tommy Fury in February. Paul defeated Ryan Burling versus first round TKO in March. Perry 0-1 lost his only pro fight against Kenneth McNeil via fourth round KO in 2015.
That means nothing.
He's 5-0 in BKFC. But yeah, we have a couple fights on here. Just kind of going. We got Shadeja Green on the heading off the prelims. And then for the first prelim of the night, we got Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. versus Uriah Hall. This is an interesting fight.
Uriah Hall Uriah Hall's going to beat him.
You think Uriah Hall's going to beat him?
Yeah, it's
Uriah Hall has one pro win, and it's against an NFL player.
Yeah, I get it, but it's gonna be Julio. If Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. wins, I will eat all the words that anyone wants me to eat on this about it. But homeboy doesn't take anything seriously at all, ever. Like in boxing, like it's Anderson Silva beat him. I think Uriah Hall will beat him too. I mean, I just don't see why. Like he'll take it serious and he'll do it. I appreciate you, Lee. I'm pretty sure like he doesn't come in. Does he even make weight? Let's find out if he even makes weight. Let's put it that way.
I mean, this fight has got to be, at what? I'll look up the box rec and see what's going on. I mean, it's probably got to be a cruiserweight fight, right?
I would assume. I mean, that's Hall usually fights at middleweight, which is 185 in the UFC. So I mean,
Yeah, so that's
that makes
already
sense.
cruiserweight. You might as well make the fight at 200. Yeah, I mean, the thing is though with Chavez Jr. is like, bro, he has 60 pro fights as a boxer, but he lost to Anderson Silva. But Anderson Silva's got a lot of skills. I
Oh
think,
no, but Uriah
yeah,
Hall's not. Uriah Hall was a kickboxer before he went MMA, and
hmm
he came from a gym that is it's Tiger, it's Tiger Schulman's at the beginning, and it's a full striking gym. It's not based in just
So we have 53, 6
standstill
and
karate.
1. So literally 60 pro fights. His pro record, he had lost to Anderson Silva, and he's only had one fight since he lost to Anderson Silva in 2021. So he's coming off of almost a 3-year layoff, bro.
Yeah,
That
and that's what
might
I
play
mean.
a factor into it as well. Uriah
And
Hall, Le'Veon Bell was his only pro win in boxing, but yeah, so we'll see. I mean, you know, it is what it is. If Uriah Hall wins, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. Uriah Hall has good hands. Yeah, he does. So we'll see what happens. That one I'm just kind of like, I guess we'll see what happens, but I'm here for it,
yeah, I mean,
right? I'm here
it's
for it.
I'm not upset by it, but it's just I want to see how seriously he takes it. I mean, I hope Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. takes it seriously, but to me, like it doesn't seem like he does.
So I want to skip over this one and talk about this one real quick. H2O Sylve or Sylvie, however they pronounce it, I forget. I watched his last fight. It was in Orlando. Um, Lucas Body. I think it's Body. I think that's how you pronounce it. This guy is 16-0 that he's fighting. So before I talk about him, let's talk about Ashton Sylvie, H2O. So
He's
he's a
11 and
guy.
0, 9 KOs.
Yeah, he's a guy that
They're pushing for sure.
he's like the top prospect right now at most valuable promotions.
Okay, so he's the first guy he fought was 3-3-4. Then it was 3-1. Then it was 2-3, 1-6, 3-30, 22-18, 11-2, 20-4, 11-3, 30-4, 13-2, and now 16-0. So he built it up correctly, and then the last fights. I mean, he's not fighting anybody with a horribly broken record. You know what I mean? So
He's
he's
fighting a guy who's having his first fight in America, interestingly. I don't know if that says anything, but all of his fights, he's been basically tic-tacking back between Mexico and Canada. So 6-5, 2-1,
I
two and
mean,
seven, 8-8.
clearly they're obviously handpicked opponents, but you're not dipping into the bag to where they're 5-15 like we've seen other guys. At least you're getting some people that have winning records on it, whether they're
Yeah,
top
winning
caliber wins,
records,
but at
or at
least they're winning
least
records.
decent amount of wins, even if
Yeah,
it's a losing record. Last fight was 26-15-1 in Niagara Falls. So I mean, at the end of the day, he's 16-0 with 14 KOs. I feel like on paper, without ever watching him, that's a pretty solid fight, right?
yeah. I mean, the last guy he fought, or he's fighting 11-0 guy. It was 26-15, 11-5, 23. Yeah, I mean, I think he's pretty solid. It's orthodox.
Yeah.
He's 5'9". He's out of
So
Canada.
we'll see what happens with that. Um, let's get into this one. Tony Aguilar
Aguilar
versus, yeah, I don't know. It's late.
and Corey Marksman.
Versus
So,
Corey Marksman. So
yep,
this is a fight that is a rematch.
yes. The first
Let
one was a
me
hell of a scrap.
let me go ahead and go back to BoxRec. Let's pull up Tony. Tony is 12-0-1. He's undefeated, but he has one draw. And that draw was to Corey Marksman. They fought back in February on one of the prospect shows.
I
And
think
this was a hell of a
it
fight, man.
was 6-round banger.
It went 4-2. both ways, and then 3-3 on one of the scorecards. It was one of those fights where I guess it could have went either way. Um, I don't know which way I would have probably leaned more. I might have liked Corey a little bit more in it, but you know, um, Tony's got that style where he's got really heavy hands. He hits hard, so I liked the work. I liked the work out of both guys. So when it was a draw, I wasn't mad at it, man. The
Yeah.
thing I was actually more mad at was the fact that it was only a 6-round fight.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you put two guys against each other that are 8-0 versus at the time he was what 10-0 versus 8-0, and it's only a 6-round fight. I felt like you're almost asking for a draw. No,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely close. I mean, and one thing I never understood about boxing is why do we end on an even number of rounds? Like, why is it even? I understand it looks better. I
yeah,
understand aesthetically it looks better. I'm not arguing that, but besides that, why the hell even rounds? It doesn't make any damn sense.
make them like 9 rounds or 11
Or
rounds,
give
right?
me 5 judges, like
Yeah,
5 actual scorekeepers. That way, that
yeah,
we somebody will get it right more likely than not if we have more than just 3. But here and there. This fight is definitely, you know, it's it's another banger. Is it what how many rounds is this one? Is this
8.
one it's 8? That's better. So we're gonna get more now. I think it's gonna
So
come down
yeah,
to
I really like the fact that this is an 8-round fight.
I think definitely it's gonna come down to who has the better gas tank. I think
Both of
both
them
these
have
young
had
men.
one fight in between. I think Corey's actually had more than one fight.
Corey
Corey,
is now 9-0. He had
so he's had one fight officially, like a pro
yep.
boxing fight, but hasn't he been fighting on that the like team combat league?
I don't know if he did or if he only fought one. He might have only fought one on
No,
there.
look. Yeah, look. So he fought twice
Oh,
on that, and it
but
was
they're only
basically one. Yeah, it was like he got one round out of each of them
yeah.
on there. So I mean, I guess he's had two more rounds but with two different guys. So it's almost like, I mean, it's got to count for like something as far as mentally. You know what I mean? You get at least one round with two different guys. It's not like
It's competition. It's something you're out there, people are watching. I mean,
yeah,
it's about being in the environment and just doing more. So I don't think it's something that hurts him.
it's a little
It's
more active.
essentially
It gives you a little more rounds.
yeah, I mean,
It's
even if
different. It's almost like a round robin type sparring. How
yeah,
good that is for you, but imagine the competition version of it on a
yeah,
pro level.
yeah,
So
essentially like that. Yep.
yeah. So does that help him out? Maybe give him that little bit of edge. Who
I
knows?
mean, I just think it makes you a little bit more better for competition. I don't know how much edge of it because when it comes down to it, these gentlemen have fought each other. Well, this is going to be 3 because they fought in amateurs as well, where we first saw these guys fighting in not even against each other the first time. But I mean, I've been in the gym with Tony, him sparring, at Pete's and everything like that. I mean, I've
Did they
watched
fight
him.
each other in undisputed?
I believe so. I'm almost positive in amateurs they fought each other too. So I thought this is number 3 to tell you the truth. I think the first one was
Because I mean, shout out to Corey. I know Corey fought with undisputed.
yep.
Both
So did Tony.
John and myself fought undisputed coming up. Tony fought undisputed too.
I believe so, man. I'm almost positive I've seen that man. Either way, they grew up in the area. They grew up in Central Florida, fighting in the same areas, sparring at the same type of gyms and stuff like that. It's it's one of those they know each other. I think this is going to be an 8-round banger, and it's going to
Mhm.
whoever has the gas tank to push the pedal in the later rounds is going to win this fight.
Yeah, I'm actually really hyped for this fight
Me too. It's going to
because
be
the first fight was really good. And that's the thing. A lot of the times, when it's like a local guy, people will be like, "Oh, this is somebody I know," so they really, "Oh, I'm so excited for this fight." Even if I didn't, even if these guys were from Milwaukee, both of them, I would have been like, "Bro, I saw the first fight. That was a great fight. It has the storyline to it. It was a 6-round fight. Could have went either way. It ended up a draw. Now, and it's one of those things where in the boxing, the way boxing is with a lot of these guys that we were talking about previously, you don't take fights like this earlier on in your career. You kind of almost just branch out, you make your own paths, and then eventually you end up seeing each other
mhm.
down the line. but for them to fight each other this early in the career,
Twice.
and then now twice, like you had the draw. They could have been like, hey, listen, we had the draw, whatever. We'll go our separate ways. No, we're running it back, and we're running it at the Amalie Arena, where the Lightning won their championships.
On the
And
Jake Paul card, you know what I
we're
mean?
doing
On
it
a
on the
Jake Paul card.
Jake Paul versus Mike Perry card.
Yeah.
I think it's huge. I think it's great. And
I'm excited for both guys, man. I really am. I'm excited for both of them.
Excited for both guys. So that's gonna be a banger.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I like I like both. I like both of them. They're cool. I'm like, super excited to see two young men from the area, from where we
Mhm.
came. Boxing together. We've seen them fight. Amateur. We've boxed in the same areas, and just seen them work at different gyms.
Possibly on the same nights too. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, I can't remember.
I know I boxed on the same card as Corey in Undisputed. As far as
and I boxed on the same night as you, so it might have been too.
oh yeah, absolutely.
So, but whatever. These guys are at the Amalie, and I'm sitting here chatting shit on a microphone. So
hey, hey.
But that's all right. To be honest with you, I don't want to be doing that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's not my cup of tea. You know?
I was old when I was doing it. I'm old now, so I'm glad the young men are doing it. So I'm rooting for them, man. Just super
Shit.
proud of them. Super
I'm
proud of
getting
them.
old too, bro.
No, I got you beat, brother. It's okay.
I'm like 100. So
Well, then I'm 142. Oh shit!
he's
All right,
Yoda.
here. Oh, the main event. Amanda Serrano. No, sorry, I did that again. My bad.
Co-main event: Amanda Serrano versus Stevie Morgan. Do you
I don't know
who
who Stevie Morgan is. I have no idea. All I know is Amanda Serrano probably will dominate this girl.
So
like,
here's what's interesting. This is what I'm going to bring up that helps the storyline, right?
Okay.
One thing that I don't like, I'm going to tell something that I don't like about this fight, something that I do like about this fight. And one of it is that it's the classic, without even looking into it, I got to go kind of back into box rec, but I'm pretty positive that this fight is going back to the standard women's boxing fights, where the standard women's boxing fights are the 10 rounds, 2-minute rounds. Amanda has fought, I think, like 2 fights now, or maybe just the one in Orlando. Yeah, I think it was the one in Orlando, and she was going to do the one in Puerto Rico, and then that one got canceled last minute, unfortunately, where it was the equal as the men, 3-minute rounds, 12 rounds. And this one goes back to the original. Hold on, let's share this tab. Yep, if you see it right here, 10 by 2. So that's going to be 10 2-minute rounds, which it is what it is. Here's the interesting thing. Amanda Serrano is the champion, right? She's the champion at 126. So she's the champion at featherweight. But what weight class do you think this fight is taking place in with Stevie Morgan?
Probably 135.
She's going to be fighting at 140 pounds.
Oh shit! She's getting ready for who? Katie Taylor or what? What weight are they fighting?
135.
So that's probably why she didn't want to cut weight too much.
So
more than
this
more
fight, it doesn't say it here, but, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe it is at 135, but I'm pretty positive that I saw that this was going to be a super lightweight fight, which is interesting. She's going up to 140 to fight this girl who's 14-1 with 13 knockouts.
Yeah, let's dive into her. Let's dive into her record real quick. Let's look at this.
Before we do that, right? On paper, for you to move up to Logan Hall says tonight. Are you asking if the fights are tonight? No, it's this Saturday. This is on the Jake Paul undercard.
Yeah.
So live from Tampa, Florida. Make sure you follow us on Boxing Bananas Official. I'll be going live there. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be in the building. So
I'm excited for you, brother.
Yeah, make sure you check that out. That being said, like I'm saying, on paper, she's gonna go from featherweight to super featherweight, lightweight. She's jumping up 3 weight classes and to face this girl who's 14-1 with 13 knockouts. Now the issue is
I'm
when
gonna
we
do.
do the deep dive.
Before you do that, I'm gonna assume that this girl's a can, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean, Amanda Serrano was put back on the card so she could just beat this girl up. And now let's
Well,
really
if
do the
you
deep
look,
dive.
let's go back to Amanda's box rec. How often do you see somebody that has 2 scheduled fights
That's what I mean. This is
on their
definitely
box rec?
a. This
She
is yeah.
already has Katie Taylor
Yep.
scheduled for November.
Yep. So
So
this
she
is
just has
just
to get through Stevie Morgan, which is interesting that they would make the fight at 140. Maybe it's to be like, hey, we're gonna, because before when she fought Katie Taylor, she was fighting at 126, then she jumped back up to 135. She'd been there before, jumped back up to 135, and that maybe that jump from 126 straight into a 135-pound fight was a little bit something. But if you go, okay, I'm gonna fight from 126, but I'm gonna jump up to 140. Now essentially the 135 is coming back down. And picking a girl who's bigger, who she'll be able to beat up, might be good work to then go into a fight with Katie and be like, really, you're not that much bigger because I just beat a girl who is bigger than you. You're just more athletic.
yeah, this is a paid glorified sparring session. Watch. Click on her name.
So let's go into the deep
No,
dive.
no disrespect to this woman stepping in the ring. She's anybody who does it, I respect all that. But watch, look,
Almost all of her fights are in Colombia, and we've talked about fighters that kind of almost.
just look at the records though. Look at the records who's
So
fighting. We
let's
got the
go
first
into
one.
it. 0 and 2,
0 and
0
2, 3 and 23,
1 and
1 and 3,
3, 0 and 3, 25 and 28, 4 and 3,
6 and 0,
6 and
21 and
0.
17,
That's
16 and
solid. Let's
18.
hold on. Let's do a deep dive. The 6 and 0 girl was fighting 0 and 1 debut, 0 and 2, 0 and 1, 1 and
Yeah,
5,
yeah.
0 and 2. So she didn't
Not,
fight anybody with a winning record.
nothing's adding up, brother.
She only in her 6 wins, she only had out of all of her opponents, they combined had 1 win.
Yeah.
So yeah, the 6 and 0 looks pretty, but when you take the deep dive, not so
And then
much.
we got
21 and 17, and she lost that fight.
majority decision. 16 and
Yeah,
19,
16 and 19,
1 and
and then
0,
a 1 and 0,
and then a
2 and
2 and
0,
0,
13 and 13 with the last 6 fights all by loss.
14 and 8,
All by loss. Last 6 fights, and now her
12 and
last
10.
fight 12 and 10.
And now
Last
you're
6
fighting
fights
Amanda
all by
Serrano.
loss, and
Get
she's
out of here.
fighting in Colombia every
Yeah,
time. Medellin. Listen. At the end of the day, last year I went to Colombia twice on 2 separate occasions, and I just want to give a shout out to my man Peeping Tom. Peeping Tom, hello everyone. Hello to you, my guy, peeping in here. You know what I'm saying? That being said, putting the ticker back on down on the bottom. Make sure you comment to be featured live on the screen, just like my man Peeping Tom.
But you like this, like, I don't, no disrespect again, man. Like Stevie Morgan, like you're a real one for stepping in there and
She's a hell
doing
of a fighter. I take my hat off to her.
but straight up, like you went from all those and now you're going to one of the greatest women fighters of all time, period. And Amanda Serrano. It's
This
just
is
not.
where, yeah, man, this is what I'm talking about with, like, on a promotional standpoint, you can go, oh, Amanda's moving up. She's fighting a girl who's 14 and 1 with 13 KOs. But when you really look, who did she beat for that? It almost looks like this is a whole investment career,
Ugh.
because these fights in Colombia, like, those aren't free. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's to
Like,
me it looks like,
those are the type of fights that you pay for.
yeah, to me it's like this is your big payday. This is one of your big paydays that you're going to get of your career.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
essentially.
I
Which, good for her.
yeah,
You know
no,
what I mean?
absolutely.
And the thing is, hopefully she puts on a good fight. And the thing, this is the only saving grace to what we're saying, is the fact that this girl has 13 knockouts out of 14 fights. Because we see a lot of the times in boxing, like the Sky Nicholson girl from last weekend, who essentially stole Amanda Serrano's WBC title at featherweight, which is no fault to Sky Nicholson. But the girl is 11 and 0, 12 and 0. I think it's 11 and 0 with 1 knockout, right? A lot of these girls, they have skills, but they can't crack. You know what I mean? So
It really is. Like you see some of them, you know, it's more about their action and movement because you're not really looking for knockouts. And this girl's got 13 of them, but so yeah, she might have some pop, but
That's the saving grace. She has the size, and you know that she has power.
yeah
At least in when you're fighting the cans, at least she's putting them out of there. There's other girls
yeah
that I'm sure there's plenty of other girls that could have an identical record, and I'm sure wouldn't be able to finish all those girls.
yeah
Is the point I'm trying to make?
no, very true. But I think the athleticism, the skill set is just going to be way too much that night. And
I
you
agree.
know, God bless her for stepping in the ring and fighting. That's awesome. You know, you're a warrior. Not taking anything away from you, but you're fighting one of
She's
the
at 49 fights, bro.
yeah, you're fighting one of the greatest women fighters that we've of a generation, and that's
For
just
sure.
what it
If
is.
not, no, it's I mean, it's almost like you got to say the best. Everyone wants to say like, "Oh, this girl's the best, that girl's the best," you know.
She's up there. I mean, there's three of them that I consider the best of the best right now. You know, her, Clarissa Shields, and Katie Taylor. I don't even care who won that first fight. Like I those three are the best women fighters, like
Because I feel like
boxers
that
in the
fight could
world.
have went either way, you
Yeah,
know. It
and
definitely.
but any one of them, you can call the best in my eyes. And
Yeah, and when you look at who was more hurt in that fight, it was most certainly Katie.
yeah,
Katie was hurt, and really on paper, when in men's boxing, are you ever going to see a featherweight move up to a lightweight and then hurt somebody like that? It's not.
oh, it's no, it was
It's not supposed to happen.
yeah, it was a banger, bro. I mean, it was straight up. It
Lee
was.
Gibson says Katie for the win.
I mean, bro. It's a straight up coin flip in my eyes. I'm not gonna lie. I like them both. I admire them both. You know what I mean? I I like both their styles. And I like them better than I like Clarissa Shields. But again, I admire Clarissa Shields and her talent that she has in there. She can, and I think she's probably one of the harder hitters of the women out there. You know.
Let me ask you this. So Lee says, look at Pac-Man. And the reason why I like that comment is because Pac-Man, everyone was talking about, oh, he won titles in 8 divisions. Everyone always says that titles 8 divisions, titles 8 divisions. Part of me is kind of like, but did he really actually win like the legitimate titles in certain divisions? I feel like the 8 divisions is a little bit debatable. Regardless, let's just run with it. 8 division champion, right? Let me ask you this question. Is not Katie Taylor, but is Clarissa Shields being undisputed in 2 divisions and then being a champion in another division more impressive? Or let's look at Amanda Serrano's record.
Okay.
So we go down and we have IBF super featherweight. That's 130.
Okay. One. Does she
We got
unify it?
130, right? So then we keep going. WBO lightweight. That's 135. We go WBO feather. That's 126. That's 3 divisions. We go WBO feather, WBO super bantam. It's another one. WBO super bantam, WBO bantam. That's 5 divisions. Now we keep going. Now we got WBO super lightweight. That's 6 divisions. And then now look at this. She goes from super lightweight 140 to super flyweight, bro. We're talking about 115.
Yeah.
That's 7 divisions, bro. And then she goes up. She beats Heather Hardy. She goes back up to 126. She beats Heather Hardy for 2
Is
of
that the
those.
one where she did she retire? No, that was Did
No,
she
that was
retire
the
Heather
rematch.
Hardy?
She fought her twice. So that
Oh,
was their first fight. This is when Heather Hardy was undefeated.
Okay.
22-0.
Yeah.
She beats Heather Hardy for those.
And she went over to
She
MMA.
beats this girl. Yeah. And then
yeah.
she ends up unifying the entire division. She becomes undisputed at 126. Possibly, maybe a round away, arguably, from being undisputed at 135. So, I mean, there's an argument that she could have been undisputed in 2 divisions. She's a 7 division champion. That, I guess, even with that loss, what's more, you tell me your opinion. And there's an argument for both. What's more impressive, Clarissa Shields' resume or Amanda Serrano's resume?
Um, it's like we'll put it in Marvel terms. It's like she was jumping the multiverse in different timelines to win belts, and she
Mhm.
collected a shit ton. And then Clarissa Shields said, "Nah, I'm going to unify them all in one timeline, twice." And really, that's 8 titles in one timeline, and then it's 7 titles in the multiverse. Either one is absolutely impressive. I mean, it's like it's hard to argue either one. You look at the 7 and you're like, oh wow, she jumped all around and did that. That's super super impressive. That's tough because that's hard on the body, you know.
Yeah.
And you're going at different talent levels, different speed levels, different power levels, different a lot of different factors. But it's hard to be undisputed too, man. I mean, it really is, and she did it twice in 2 divisions. As far as Clarissa Shields go, that's why
Lee
I say
said Lee says it's a pick 'em. I'd
he
pick
picked Shields.
Shields. And then the other thing I would say that you could possibly take into consideration is that out of her 46 fights, she's got 30 knockouts.
Yeah.
Clarissa has like 2.
Okay, then I misspoke about the power level. I guess Miranda Serrano hits genuinely
Let's
harder.
let's look up Clarissa real quick. I don't necessarily want to make the whole podcast about Clarissa versus Amanda and like who's better, but I think it's an interesting topic.
Yeah,
We're talking about who's the greatest, right? We got
absolutely.
Clarissa, who she won the WBC, unified this all at unified champ at super middle. Then she went to middleweight, undisputed at middleweight, super welter, undisputed at super welter, and then she undisputed middleweight, but that was one where essentially like she lost one of the titles because they like stripped it from her, but then she got it back.
Against Savannah Marshall, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean she's like the 2-time undisputed, but that's kind of like it's like a politic game.
Yeah.
And then now we're here, but you look 14-0 with 2 KOs. You know what I
Well,
mean?
also
So
just for the fact that Amanda Serrano has had 50 fights, I would probably have to lean towards Amanda Serrano for the fact that she's just been around, and that she's put in the work. 50 fights, 46, 2-1. What is it? Go back to her again. I'm sorry. What's her? Oh, 46, 2-1. Yeah, 46 to 1. She has close to 50, 50 fights, 49 fights. This is gonna be number 50. Then she's gonna have 51. You kind of got to lean towards her. I mean, Shields can make a point for it later on in her career if she's going to keep fighting and keep doing things and being that way. But with 14 fights, 2 KOs, if you're looking at Amanda Serrano 46, 2-1, 49 fights coming up on 50, 36 KOs, or is that 30 KOs? I can't see what you say. Is that
30
30 KOs?
KOs, 30
30
KOs.
KOs. I mean, like, I guess on my pick 'em, I'm picking Serrano for the fact that it's just that longevity and how much
Lee
work
says
he put in.
Shields is only 29. Age might become a factor. Serrano's 35. So Serrano's in the
Agreed.
pretty much the twilight of her career.
Yeah.
Essentially, she has this fight and then the Katie Taylor fight. And I feel like that Katie Taylor fight is going to be the make or break of her career in November. It's either she beats Katie Taylor and she rides off into the sunset, or she kind of doesn't. And then I don't know what other big fights there really is for her. I guess Alicia Bumgardner's out there at 130 because she's jumping from 126 to 135. Alicia Bumgardner's undisputed at 130. She could very well go there. And
Yeah.
if she wins that fight, that's a huge deal for her. But then she'll have the 2 stains against Katie on her record. Who knows? But at the end of the day, Amanda Serrano is a great fighter. She's currently, I feel, the best fighter out of Puerto Rico. Everybody loves her in Puerto Rico. It was a shame that in Puerto Rico they didn't allow her to fight. It was a bummer. I was there live in the audience. It was definitely a shame, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? That being said, we get into somebody else who fought in Puerto Rico, Mr. Jake Paul, who will be taking on Platinum Mike Perry this weekend. Man,
Yep.
this is I kind of don't even know what to think about this fight. Like, we had some comments earlier that I didn't put on the screen specifically because
I
we
think
had Lee saying, I hope Perry ends Paul. And then our boy Naioa White, Mike Perry likes getting punched. So if he can learn to slip them, Paul gets rocked badly. I feel like in Perry's last two fights, if you see what Eddie Alvarez, he was getting hit straight down the center line. Luke Rockhold, he was getting hit straight down the center line. Against Alves, he was punching and taking his head off the center line with the punches. Does he do it in boxing with Jake Paul?
Mike Perry is way more athletic than people think. He's not scared of a single human being on this planet. I believe in my heart. Like he literally does not care who steps in front of him. He will do whatever. He has the ability to hurt this man. He has the ability to hit him and I think really, really hurt him and put him in danger because he's not going to shy away. He's not going to go away. If there's no quit in this man, you're going to have to put him down and put him down permanently because he's not going to stop, right? So it's a definitely genuine test. I know he's an MMA guy, but he's an MMA striker mainly with his hands, and now he's a bare knuckle, violent human being in it. And he takes pain well. He has a chin. It should be entertaining. I do believe Jake Paul has the better skill set for boxing, but Mike Perry has everything he needs to still win. In a sense, like I mean, he has the tools to be able to do it. It's
No, for sure.
Just will it happen that way, or will Paul box him? You know what I mean? Like, will it be like how will that work out? You know what I mean?
So Mike Perry in his pro boxing resume is 0-1, but that's because he fought Kenneth McNeil in what was it, 2015. So I mean, he's had a lifetime of experience since then. I don't think that's something you could really take away from it. Here's something that people aren't really talking about is I want to show you this man, Michael Seals. What's important about this guy, Michael Seals? Well, you see he's 28-3. You look at his losses, right? Because everyone wants to look at the losses. So let's look at his losses.
Okay.
Edwin Rodriguez. And this was a guy who fought for the world title.
Okay.
Then this one was a DQ, so can't really count it. So he really only had two losses. And then Alida Alvarez, who later after this became the world champion. He knocked out Sergey Kovalev.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm having a little technical difficulties with my my screen loading.
While he's doing that, don't forget to check out Jazzercise, guys. I'm using it right now. If you're hearing that little popping sound, it's because I'm using this probably when I shouldn't. So sorry.
Hold on just a second.
And use Fight Bananas for 15% off. And our other sponsors. Drop my mic. I'm sorry.
No worries. I'm having technical difficulties on my side. My screen is going into this weird loading thing. Can you still see me?
Oh, I see your beautiful face. It's just not moving. HKA USA. Check them out.
Hold on.
Fight Bananas 20%.
How about now? Can you see me?
Nope. It's doing the little circle thingy. Now it's not a fake. Nope. Welcome to Fight Bananas, where we have technical problems.
Frozen.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you don't need to see me right now for me to finish my point, right?
No, not at all.
You look at who he lost to, world champions.
Yep.
He had a pretty decent last win. We don't have to talk about that one.
Oh man, I like my guy.
But if you look at all bouts or BK Pro, it says BK Pro, and he's 0-1. I don't know why they put BK, but he fought in a little interesting thing called the triad, where it was like a triangle
Is this the
ring.
one? Is this who Mike Perry beat in the triangle?
Yep. Mike Perry beat this man. And essentially what it was like boxing gloves, but that they were like open finger boxing gloves. So they were like almost MMA gloves, but like more
They were like
padding on
puffies.
them.
They were like karate combat puffies.
Yeah. And then they fought with those type of gloves, but in a triangle. So it was like essentially
I know exactly what you're talking about. I
like that.
remember that.
But
And he did.
when
He
you
won.
yeah, when you look on it, when he took that fight, bro, I was like, damn, that's not a good fight for Mike Perry to take because Michael Seals is like he's a legit boxer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the guy, you see the guys he lost to,
Yeah.
but he won the fight. So I feel like that's got to count for something. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
absolutely.
We look at Mike Perry and you see, okay, well his boxing, he's only had one fight and he lost, but it's like yeah, but he beat a guy who would like fought for like the title
What year
essentially.
was that? Go back to the Michael Seals. What year was that?
Michael Seals was 2021, so it wasn't even
Okay,
that long
so
ago, bro.
no, it's not. So what I'm saying is like in 2015, he had his first pro boxing fight. He lost that, to Kenneth McNeil. Then he goes and fights a real, genuine, like legit boxer that, like you said, only lost
Granted, it was
to.
different type of rules,
Yeah,
but
but like
I
he
feel
went
like
there 5 years later with a whole different skill set of and you know being how do I want to say it, in the limelight, fighting big fights, going through the UFC, all that kind of stuff, to do that and fight a legit boxer, then win. His skill set is definitely getting better. He has tools, 100% tools to get in there, and he's not to hurt Jake and get him out of there. And he's not scared. He's not scared in any way, shape, or form. So it's gonna be a dogfight for Jake. Hey, I'm all by myself. It's gonna be an absolute dogfight for Jake. Hey, there's my guy.
there we go. I'm back in business,
There
baby.
we go.
So, yeah, no, I agree with you, man. I feel like it's gonna be tough. I mean, I've had the pleasure of Mike Perry punching me in the face, in sparring. Now,
Doesn't feel good.
what does that mean? Nothing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not somebody who's like gonna put, any sort of danger probably on Mike, but I felt him, just physically like when you're in there tied up, the punch, stuff like that. Obviously, he's not trying to take my head off, thank God. He did snatch my body though. That was lovely. I felt like De La Hoya versus Bernard Hopkins on the floor, but from people that are pros, right? One of my buddies is was a headliner for PBC, and when he sparred against Mike Perry, he said, "You know what? Like I was, better than him in the sparring, but this guy is strong
Oh
inside
yeah.
of there." So if Mike can make it a very physical fight, it might be able to wear down Jake. And I don't know, man. It's just one of those things where you see Jake, like especially in these last two fights that he's had. Um, I've had the pleasure of being at both of them, and he's ended both of them in the first round, and these were against like actual like real boxers. So,
Did you do the dive? You had to do the dive. Did you do the deep dive into their records and the people?
well, I mean, we can right now.
Oh, I mean, we don't need to. We don't have to go that rabbit hole if we want to. I'm fine with it if you want to go that way.
We can go that
But
way.
but
Let's go that
also,
way.
I
Let's
think
do it. Let's do a quick dive.
all right.
Quick dive, right? So we had Andre August. He's 10-2. And of course, these are picked opponents, obviously, right? He had debut, 1-1, debut, 0-1, 0-4, 3-3, 625, 516, 713, 4-3. Now we're getting a little bit better. 7-0 was pretty much the only fighter that he had that had
Click on that guy.
essentially a winning record in
Click
his
on that
whole
guy.
career. Brandon Morton had fought 2-2, 8, boom, losing record, winning record. Andre August lost to. So yeah, he fought a guy who never fought anybody with a winning record. From what I heard, this guy at least, had some sort of like Golden Gloves amateur accolades, but he was also. Would you yes or no? Would you say that this would be considered a padded record?
For a gentleman who has all the money that he needs to be able to spar everyone that he ever wants and been on some of the biggest stages in the world,
I'm talking
that's a
about
big.
this guy.
I know, but I'm talking about if he's going to be the opponent for Jake, that's a hand-picked opponent. That's like they knew what they were getting. They knew right away. The stage was going to be too big for him. He's had 12 fights. Jake Paul's a damn megastar. He's been in every type of giant celebrity situation you can be in. He's been, you know, he's comfortable in those scenarios. This
Mhm.
guy would have been out of his element to fight a guy like Jake Paul.
Now let me ask you this question. Everyone's criticism of Jake Paul, because let's do this, right? Let's go backwards to Jake. We look at him. YouTuber, basketball player, former MMA guy, but was more of a wrestler primarily and was retired. Former world champion. This I actually thought like he shouldn't have even taken this fight against Tyron Woodley. I thought that was crazy for him, and for the fact that he won by split decision was wild. But I feel like that was more because Tyron Woodley turned into the frozen one instead of the chosen one.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
then when he knocked out Tyron Woodley in Tampa, I was at that fight. That was nuts. Couldn't believe it. When he fought Anderson Silva, I thought that was a fight that he shouldn't have taken either, because even with Anderson Silva being old, Anderson Silva
And
could
that
box, and
Yeah,
he
and
had
that last
just beat.
knockdown, and that fight was close. That last knockdown was like it wasn't much. It wasn't like an unbelievable shot. It was more like to me it was a car crash. I feel like Anderson just didn't go the right way and he walked into something.
He just walked into a shot, yeah.
Yeah.
But Anderson Silva was coming off. A lot of people were like, "Oh, fighting a real boxer, you're not fighting a real boxer." Anderson Silva was coming off of a win
He
against a
beat Julio
former world
Chavez,
champion.
yeah.
Yeah, former world champion that had, almost 60 fights. Son of a legend. If
Mm-hmm.
that and he has a boxing record. If that doesn't make you a real boxer, I mean, I know he's an MMA guy, but can you be both at the same time? Is the
Oh,
question.
if he would have stopped MMA after his shin break and went into boxing, we would have been talking about him as
As
a
a
real
boxer,
legit
yeah. Which I mean, he
boxer.
probably should have, but obviously there's contracts and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then he fought Tommy Fury, drops him in the last round, loses by split decision. This fight was interesting because I'm not trying to I'm not trying to glaze Jake Paul, but I felt like there was something off about him that night. Now, maybe it was the fact that he had a real boxer in front of him that was doing like the feints, movements. There was a different dynamic to it, but I just felt like that, like you could tell there was something going on. I feel like that fight would be interesting if they run it back, but at the end of the day, he took that L and then went right back into fighting another MMA guy and Nate Diaz. So the criticisms up until the Andre August gentleman who we just deep dove on was Jake Paul doesn't fight real boxers. So my question to you is, even though Andre August was a handpicked opponent, we look at his record, isn't the best record. Would you go as far as to say that Andre August is not a real boxer?
No, I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is
And
my point.
that's one that I know the answer before I ask it.
Yeah, like I'm not saying that in any kind of way. He is a real boxer. He is taking the steps to try to build a career and everything like that. It's just it wasn't the time to fight a guy who can literally sit in the gym with whoever he wants, whenever he wants, fly out everybody he needs, have all of the best of everything, and
Mm-hmm.
spar anywhere in the world, even if he has to travel to it. He has all of these accommodations given to him. The work is done in the gym, people. It is not done on the stage. It's done in the gym. When he goes into these stages to fight, I believe the only one that got him maybe slightly nervous was the Tommy Fury one because it was a real boxer, but a legit prospect whose whole family is boxing. It's a big moment. It's one of those things where now he's built for the stage. He understands it. The limelight is nothing, and he gets to bring in all of the best. And that's literally why he's getting better. I'm not taking away from him and like saying he's shit. He can't box. No, he can box, and he's getting better because he has the money and the time to put in work and just do that. Like literally, if he wants to go away for wherever he wants, he doesn't need any more money. He can just go sit around in Puerto Rico at his gym and fly people in and get better at boxing. And that's what he did for a while. And that's probably why he was picking those hand-picked opponents so he can make money, do it, and get back to work, get back to developing his skills. Because I mean, that's literally what he's in it for. I
For
just wish he
sure.
would have went the amateur route and had some amateur fights and then started doing whatever he wanted to. Take people along to show them the real grassroots journey,
He did have an amateur fight against Deji.
that's not I'm talking about like take him to the USA
Like an
boxing games.
actual yeah, but the thing is when you have the name that you have, you got to leverage it for money.
Oh, I'm not arguing. He went his route. That's fine. But if you wanted to earn more of the boxing community's respect,
It would have
that's
helped
what
him earn the
that would have
respect.
helped him a
I
lot
get
more.
what you're saying. Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I'm saying. But
100%.
again, he's putting work in the gym, guys. Like I said, he has the means to do those things. And these opponents they're not ready for that type of limelight. They get nervous, they get worried. And since when you watch somebody knock Tyrone Woodley out on a pay-per-view type of stage, and then you're fighting that guy, as much confidence as you say you have, and like I can beat him and everything like that, it comes down to, well, you got to perform that night and do it. And I think sometimes it's just too big of a stage.
Mm-hmm. No, I do agree with the vast majority of that. With this fight, his last fight that was in Puerto Rico, he fought Ryan Borland, 17-3. Kind of the same question: would you consider this guy a real boxer?
I mean, yeah, you have to.
We'll do the quick dive. Debut. Winning record here. He lost in the first round. Losing record, winning record, wins, lose, winning record, wins, lost to this one. And then this is a good win right here, 19-4.
Not bad.
With 5 out of the last 6 being wins. And then he had fought in 2022. Looks like he had almost taken like 2 years off. So it's one of those things where even the ones that he was fighting, the real boxers, it's guys with the records, you could pick apart, and then a little bit of a layoff, and then them being a little bit older too. But I guess my question would be, for any other fighter or any other boxer that's in their like 10th fight, 9th fight, 8th fight, are they not doing the same thing and picking the same opponents and matching up
Oh,
the same exact way?
I absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm not arguing that's he is doing it that way. I'm just saying, like, he's doing like what we're doing. He's taking deep dives into his handpicked opponents, and he's making sure he's getting the ones that he wants. Is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. And
So
it
let's
is.
do this real quick.
It's not an insult. It's just he it he's already surpassed that level of fighting in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You can step up to somebody where you don't need to see a guy with a winning record that's padded like that much
Well,
or
what
not
it is,
padded.
bro, is that his stardom has far surpassed what people's stardom would be when they're in that position.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's where the discrepancy comes. Is a lot of the times the quote real boxers, everybody's favorite fighters, are doing this, but they're doing it before the public eye is on them.
Yeah.
They do this, then they have, once they're in the public eye, they're like, "Oh, I'm 15-0, 16-0,
Unless
20-0."
yeah, unless you're like
So
a Lomachenko or Carmel Moten, like who's coming up now. People are watching him at the early stages because
exactly. So we
it.
look at somebody like Gervonta, right?
Yeah.
His beginning 0-4, debut, 4-7, 1-1, 2-8, 3-9. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And his 8th
Mhm.
fight, he finds a guy named Hector Lopez who had a debut. Now, the reason I bring that up is because, Jake Paul in his 8th fight, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. His 8th fight was against Nate Diaz, sure. But in his 7th fight, he's fighting a quote real boxer, undefeated guy who's 8-0, Tommy Fury, and we goes to split decision with him. Really shouldn't have, like, if he's as bad as everybody says he is. And everyone was giving him shit for fighting. He always fighting MMA guys. He's not fighting real boxers. Gervonta's 8th fight fights this guy Hector Lopez. Hector Lopez was an MMA fighter who was 3-3. The reason I bring that up is because people's favorite fighters are doing the same thing, except the difference is Gervonta's 8th fight, he's fighting a 3-3 MMA fighter. Jake Paul's, and then also I think I should bring up the fact that that fight was a 4-round fight. Now we go to Jake Paul's. Jake Paul's 1, 2, 3, 4th fight. He's fighting an 8-round fight, so double the time, against a former world champion. At the end of the day, my point is that, people are hating on Jake Paul. Like, there's got to be a point where we give this guy a little bit of respect. Now, fighting Mike Perry, then fighting an old Mike Tyson, I don't think is going to like kind of silence the haters at this point. I don't think he's really cares about it so much because everyone said, fight the boxers, real boxers, quote. He fought 2, quote, real boxers, and people still hated on that too. So at this point, I think he's just going to carve his own career. What do you think?
He's going to carve his own career. That was going to happen no matter what. My only, I don't know if it's a rebuttal, how you want to say it to that is, yes, all of our favorite fighters did that unless you were like, like I said, like a Lomachenko who walked in his 3rd fight. It was a world championship fight. Unless you're a certain person, right? 2nd fight was a world championship fight. So it's, unless you're somebody who's like that level, like, yeah, you're not walking into like, the most talent right away, right? You're building it like this, but you're building it against guys who are at least boxing, like you are. They're at least in the gym training most of the time or some type of way they're boxing. You literally are boxing celebrities from different sports, and that's fine. I understand that the comparison in the records, things like that, people that aren't like debuting, and something, they're terrible. I understand all that. His goal, though, is what he's telling me is that he wants to be on a quest to a world champion. Fighting Mike Perry on a short notice fight because of it, because you had to fill in the Mike Tyson thing is, okay, I give you more respect for that one because that dude, you're fighting a dog. And I get that. Like, you're fighting a dog.
For sure. Yeah, it's not like it's just some MMA guy. Like, this is like
fighting,
it's probably one of the toughest guys you could fight.
Yeah, like you're fighting a straight dog and a guy who's going to come for blood and for your neck and everything like that. Mm-hmm. But then you go and pick up, like, even before this, you picked Mike Tyson. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Like, old Mike Tyson. Yeah, it doesn't help.
That's a money grab, bro. You're not worried about
money grab. Exactly.
You're not worried about being a world champ. Stop telling me you're trying to be a world champ. What I hate is I'm not hating on him or his work ethic or anything like that, but you're telling me you want to be a world champion, a boxer. This is not how you do this. Mm-hmm. If you want to build your record, I know your stardom's way up here and we're looking at this, but come on, man. Like, yeah, there we go. Tommy
Fury, the GOAT, for real. I feel like for everything you're saying, this is what Jake Paul has to do. Jake Paul has to beat Mike Perry, beat Mike Tyson, which really I hope that fight still doesn't happen. I feel 100%, like 100%. There's no need for that fight to happen, man. I don't want to see Mike Tyson's old ass get beat up. It's going to make people not like Jake Paul even more. Oh. So, God, forget about that fight. Give us a different fight in November. And what we can do is, if he really wants to try to be world champion, right? Excuse me. He has to 2025. Okay, now you gave us these 2 fights. 2025, you fight 4 times in that year, and you fight, even if it's guys like kind of like this, like Berland and August. Give us maybe 2 more of those guys, and then towards the later half of the year, 2 guys that are a little more active and maybe a little more on, like, younger. Maybe they have, winning records, but a couple of losses, something like that. Like, fights that you would see that are more like journeyman type guys, but something that tells us you're going in that right direction, right? Because like what you're saying, if you're going to be talking world champion stuff like that, you have at least start inching us in that direction. That makes it seem like you're serious about wanting to do that, because you're not gonna fight guys like Mike Perry and Nate Diaz and whoever, and then talk your way into a cruiserweight world title.
And who do you beat at cruiserweight? And if, let's just say this, if Usyk comes down to cruiserweight, your shit's over. You're
He's
never
not.
beating him. I
Yeah,
don't
he's
give
not
who,
doing that.
like. Well, I'm just saying if he talked about it. But and at 175, let's say you go down to 175. Who you beating at
I
175?
don't know that he can't, because I was going to mention that too, but I don't know that he'll be able to, because even when he cut to 185, he looked
Oh,
it looked like a cut. You know what I mean? So I
yeah,
don't
but
know that he'll be able to cut another.
it all depends on your diet. You can shrink a little bit if you want to get down where you just end up being,
Maybe 180.
yeah.
You know
But
what I
at the
mean?
same time, a bit better BF wants to fight him. If somehow he makes an impressive thing and he wants to get better BF, sorry, not having homie. You're not getting by that guy. That guy's putting you out.
Here's what I'll tell you. Here's a possibility. Let me share this one, right?
Okay.
And I feel like this is just even crazy talk. The fact that I'm even bringing this up, and people are going to be like, "Dude, cancel this show
For
immediately."
real, right?
That we're
Yeah,
even
terrible.
entertaining this. But let's say
Yeah.
we're in Doctor Strange multiverse where, Jake Paul goes down the route that I'm talking about. He wins this fight, beats somebody else because they canceled the Mike Tyson fight again. And then next year, 2025, you give us 4 fights. 2 of them are kind of like the same August Berlin type fights. And then we get into the latter half of the year where it's, more journeyman type, but you're going in the right direction. 2026 comes around, you start getting in, a couple more of those fights. And so you finally get into like a 12 round or something like that. Jai Apataya, you're not beating.
No, not at
Somebody
all.
like Gilberto Ramirez is super good, but to be fair, bro, at cruiserweight, I felt like he was really slow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this is where I'm
Chris,
saying it's super crazy to even talk about, because I feel like Gilberto Ramirez should beat the shit out of Jake Paul.
I think he
But
would.
if Jake can, and this is a huge ask, but he has to increase his skills a lot. But that's what part of doing that is fighting those guys that you're talking about. Kind of
Yeah.
the criticism that you have. You have to be on the right path, and that's going to give you that experience in order to get there. You know what I'm saying? So if he's able to do that through 2025 and 2026, saying we're talking about 8 fights of straight up boxing guys that you're just stacking and stacking experience. You add more tools, you start moving. The guy doesn't move bad, Jake Paul.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? So he doesn't have the best footwork in the world,
No.
but
But
he
I
doesn't
mean, it's
move
getting better.
terribly.
You can see it
But
getting better. But
that's where I could see in a 2027 potentially, if he does that type of road, fighting somebody who could be like
it,
before the WBC champ was what's his face was Makabu. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Makabu's a hard hitter, but maybe he'd be able to beat him.
Yeah, I mean,
Something
you're
like
not
that.
being Jai Apataya though, and Chris Billum Smith, if he's still around, homeboy's got a chin and he hits hard, and he's a
Yeah.
tough cat.
So it's a big ask, but I mean, at the end of the day, he's got to get through Mike Perry. Mike Perry's a dog. I'm not trying to write off Mike Perry.
Not at all.
We're
Not at
just
all.
There's a lot of interesting topics and a lot of controversy when it comes to the idea of Mr. Gallo de Dorado, Jake Paul, the
The
former
rooster,
problem
right? The
child,
rooster. The rooster.
essentially. Yeah.
Okay. So also Mike Perry, guys, I'm not gonna lie, man. He's a live dog. We all know that. We've been talking about it, and I'm sure other people are. But dude's a plus 330. The last time I checked, that's not a bad bet. I'm not even trying to like. He has the one punch power to do stuff. So that's not too bad for if you're trying to make some. If you want a live dog and you like betting odds like I do, that's like a $10 bet for $33. I might do it. I might do it.
It might not be bad. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Let me pull this up real quick. It's my man Jake Paul's outfit that he had in Puerto Rico.
Oh, the roost. God, dog, he looks like what's that foghorn leghorn, bro? Just red. That's like
But
a
let me tell you
foghorn.
something, bro. You know what I mean? We were talking about the other day, we were talking about guys like Edgar Berlanga, right? Who they're trying to sell as like Puerto Rican stars. But this guy doesn't draw any Puerto Rican crowd. I'll tell you what, bro. In San Juan, in that arena, the Puerto Rican fans were on fire for Jake Paul. They were like, bro, like it was like almost like they were accepting him as one of their own. You know what I mean? So it was interesting. You know what I mean? But I'm cool with it, you know.
Oh
So
no,
we'll
I mean like
see.
I like I said, dude. I know he's living there. I'm sure he's helping the community grow, doing certain things. I'm sure he's doing stuff with
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So I'm all for that, and I'm not knocking his work ethic in any kind of way. I just it's like you took the path to make more money, and I get it. You're already a star, but you could have done it the boxing way and went grassroots a little bit level, and I feel like you would have brought even more people behind you.
But guess what? There ain't no money in boxing.
No, 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 no. But he already had all the money, man. He didn't need it. That's what I'm trying to say.
He needs more. There's never
Oh,
enough. Why do
every
you think he lives in Puerto Rico? So that Uncle Sam doesn't take
I
the
know,
money
bro.
that he's
I get it,
making.
but he already had millions. He was already a multi. His
There's
YouTube
never
channel would have
enough,
just blossomed
baby.
even more. It would have
There's
like
never
he would have
enough.
made money either way. It didn't matter. He would have made money either way. I'm just more of a, I guess, a boxing purist that way.
Traditionalist.
A traditionalist. There you go, traditionalist.
And
But
then,
yeah,
hey, shout out to our guy Lee Gibson for hanging in there with us. It's 4 a.m. over in England, bruv.
yeah,
Rest up,
man.
rest up. You know what I mean? Menda about to close the stream anyways. So, cheers to you, mate. Um, I mean, that being said, last thoughts on Paul versus Perry.
Let's see what happens. It'll be
Let's see
fun
what
either way.
happens,
I'm gonna tell you
man.
that.
Let's see what happens. Before we go, real quick, shout out to the sponsors one last time.
Yes, sir. We got HK USA. Check out their glove line. They're all the different equipment they have. They have coaching equipment, hit sticks, paddles, all that good stuff. Put in Fight Bananas 20 for 20% off your entire order.
And then
We have Jazzercise, baby. Fitness for your face and neck. Fight Bananas for 15% off. Again, guys, they don't do a lot of sales. You know what I mean? So check them out. Put that in. Get it done.
that's what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you gooners out there are hitting those Mew streaks so your looks maxing to the fullest. You want a thick neck, thick jaw, level 10, yeah. Make sure you hit that Fight Bananas code for 15% off for the Jazzercise. And make sure you subscribe to the Fight Bananas on YouTube. And make sure you follow the Boxing Bananas official. I will be in the building, the Amelie Arena. Don't come looking for me if you don't like my opinions on boxing, because I am a gallo de Orlando, meaning I'm a chicken, and I will avoid all conflict with all you guys. So I'm not looking for any smoke. My one dude, what was his name? Like Super Judo or whatever that one time. You guys didn't cover Body versus Sylve.
I thought we
We
did
did. We yeah, no, we
a little
did.
bit.
We did slightly. You know what I mean? It's a good fight. You know what I mean on paper. Body's got what? He's 16-0.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? 14 knockouts, 13 knockouts, something like that. I think that's a big test for H2O coming
Yeah,
with the way they're trying to move him. So we'll see if it's a little bit
it's the
too
most legit guy.
tall.
It's for sure the most legit guy he's fighting for sure. Like to date.
Lucas is my best friend. Oh, is that true? What kind
Okay.
of tune in? What kind of inside information you got?
Like, how
Drop
good
something.
camp? He's got a good camp going. He's feeling
Is
good.
it? Yeah, I feel like it could be potentially too tall of a glass of water for H2O to take down at this point. Ha ha. So yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, and then fight of the night, Tony Aguilar versus Corey Marksman. Fight of the night.
For sure. My boy Brandon Ian, check his Instagram and check the betting line. 100.
All right.
Brandon,
All
make
right.
sure you're subscribed to
Three-time national
three-time
champ.
national champ.
Okay.
Yeah, H2O
Okay.
might have
See
poured
what
himself
happens.
too tall of a glass this time. So that being said, guys, make sure you subscribe to the Fight Bananas YouTube, Boxing Bananas official on IG. I'll be live in the building, going live during some of the fights. I'll be, screaming and whatnot. I'm 100% going to be sober during the fights. So, oh, Brandon said he fought LeBron.
Okay.
Damn,
Okay.
bro. James?
The king. Oh wow.
LeBron James.
Respect.
Also, thanks. Appreciate it, bro. But yeah, make sure you guys check out the sponsors, whatnot. Check out the fight this weekend. Let us know in the comments what you guys, want to hear from us and whatnot. And that's what we'll cover the next time. But until next time, I'll see y'all at the fights this weekend. And we